This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Let's welcome to the show today, Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And Harriette Sucher.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, I got at least one answer to the Peter Wilson case. I have about 4 letters from him. I have not matched up the responses to the questions that I've asked. It has been a very busy week. He did indicate, though, and I did pick up on the motive now. So every time I thought he was referring to $400 that was taken from the backpack, I thought, well, that might be a decent amount of money in 1996, though it didn't seem like a lot for somebody to chance their career on. He actually stated in this one of his responses that he had $400,000 in that backpack. Now we can talk about motive, because we couldn't really quite understand why this police officer inside of a single day would want to go and frame him so quickly, put it to rest, get him incarcerated, take him off the streets. He's now a murderer. Nobody's going to listen or believe a word he says. So yes, evidently there was $400 in the front pocket of this backpack, but there was $400,000 on the inside of this backpack.
How did he get so much money?
That's the one question I did not glean from as much as I attempted to read out of the responses that he had given. So I'm going to again match up the responses to my questions and then resend out a letter with a specific request. I did ask how he came up with the $300,000. Again, I did not get an answer to that. At least I don't believe I did. Again, I was quickly reading through it. He sent me 4 different responses at 4 different times, and but when I saw the $400K, I thought I must have misunderstood this from his previous responses, that it was $400 that was missing from the backpack. $400,000 now makes sense. So
in Palo Alto?
In Palo Alto. He's a 31-year-old student at Stanford University. He works for hospitals at this point. I, again, do not know how he has this type of money at this age. It could be an inheritance. It could be family money. I have no clue right now.
Yeah, but also, didn't he loan the deceased a bunch of money too?
$300,000 on the 1st of March. So now on the 30th of March or 31st of March, he has $400,000 in his backpack. So I don't know what he was up to, what he was doing. I don't want to make any conjectures in regards to it, but now the motive made sense. I kept wondering this entire time, what would cause Officer Yolor to want to hem him up so quickly as the murderer and to incarcerate and put him away for a crime he didn't commit. And now this would be a valid motive. We know that Officer Yolor did an illegal search and seizure on his backpack on March 31st via the missing, and maybe now it's him that removed those missing exculpable pieces of evidence, which are the alibis for Mr. Wilson from his backpack. He clearly removed them on the 31st before the search warrant was issued. He copied them, put them in the police file, and then subsequently those pieces of evidence that would have exculpated Mr. Wilson were removed from the police file with a inserted page indicating that it had been removed. And I do have somebody working on getting me samples of the players of this game, their handwriting, so I can make a determination as to who it was that signed off that they removed that evidence from the police file.
Wasn't there another cop with Yolor when he did the search?
Not until April 1st. So that's kind of the kicker there. The search warrant, you got to remember the 31st is a Sunday. Nobody's nobody's putting out search warrants on this day, right? The judge isn't in chambers until Monday. So April 1st, he issues the search warrant, which includes the backpack and the home of Kim. So we see I believe it was Officer Brooks that completed that search of supposedly the first search of the backpack on April 1st, in which case only $400, or it said small change or something like that in the actual evidence report, where they had searched the backpack and it indicated there was a small amount of money. And that's what I thought had been taken this entire time, was that small $400. So, and we see no mention of the fact that this search had actually taken place and things had been taken from the backpack on the 31st by Officer Yore, until we found out that the alibi evidence in March by Mr. Yore, stating that it was removed from the backpack on 3/31/96 previous to the actual search warrant. So I believe now at this point, this is a fantastic motive for Officer Yore to have caused Mr. Wilson to be the suspect and basically frame him for this particular murder by applying his blood to the crime scene.
Do we know how big the backpack is? Because it seems almost impossible, even if they're all $100 bills, to fit $400,000 in one backpack.
Well, $300,000 was witnessed by two individuals in regards to the payment that was given to Miss Kim on 3/1. So we know $300,000 fit in there. That was in the backpack and witnessed by one of the friends that took Peter Wilson to the bank to obtain the money from the security box. So we know that he said he saw the bundles, but he did not actually see the cash itself. So I'm assuming what he was looking at was probably bundles inside either envelopes or something, and the backpack was big enough to hold that $300,000. Now, my bigger question, which is going to be a follow-up question, was, did this backpack accompany him to San Francisco? Was he walking around with $400,000, or did he go to $400,000 or go to San Francisco to pick up this $400,000? And now the money laundering aspect of things is kind of coming into play. And regardless of what kind of illegalities Mr. Wilson was committing at this time, if he was, and I'm not saying he was, but if he was, it doesn't make him a murderer. So a lot of times, like I say, in these suspects and these cases here that we're looking at in this PowerPoint presentation, is that a lot of the suspects were either pedophiles or they're robbers. They're all these things that don't constitute them actually being convicted of murder, because they're not murderers. So I'm hoping that we will get those answers, and I will follow up on the responses that he gave me. Hopefully next week I'll have answers to some of the questions I've asked, and gotten out another letter to him for him to explicitly explain how this man has $700,000 inside of a 30-day period.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially in the mid-90s. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's a lot of money. Yes.
That's almost 30 years ago.
And he's back and forth between Palo Alto and San Francisco. And we know that that's where the money is in California. One of the places anyways, right?
That was the dot-com era. The dot-com era, Silicon Valley is blooming. So
right.
It was getting started. The money was flowing.
And maybe he invested. I mean, there's a lot of ways he could have had this money. Just because I've never had access
to $400,000 in a backpack. It just doesn't make sense.
mattress money.
Why?
Well, and he's also keeping it in security boxes instead of in the actual bank itself, where it could accumulate interest. So there's questions as to why, you would put it into a box in a bank, but not in a bank to be held, unless he feared that banks would have issues such as when, the market crashes and all of a sudden.
Or notifying the IRS.
Notifying the IRS. Yeah, well, and then that brings us back to illegalities. Why don't you want the IRS to know you have this money? Either way, that is now the MO that we've been looking for. We've been questioning this entire time why Officer Yore would want to have him convicted as a criminal for murder. And now the evidence is kind of lining up and showing us what is going on. And if if Officer Yor removed the exculpable evidence, like his alibi evidence from the backpack on the 31st, then what else did he remove on the 31st before the actual legal search and seizure was done on April 1st with Officer Brooks? So I'm going to leave it at that, and we're going to move right back into the Zodiac.
One quick question, Nanette.
Yeah.
Did the taxi driver testify?
He did.
Trial.
He did.
He did. And
He did.
all of his testimony backed up Wilson, right?
Completely. He stated when he got there to pick Wilson up, there was a vehicle in the driveway under a car cover, which everyone else has already acknowledged, including Coleman, that she did not have a car cover and that her BMW was gone. The cab driver did not see a BMW in the driveway. Mr. Wilson testified that the BMW was gone, but an alternate car was under a car cover in the driveway. The taxi cab driver testified to the fact that, yes, there was a car under a car cover. And then Mr. Coleman, when he got home at 8:30 at night, indicated that the BMW was in the driveway. There was not a vehicle in the driveway with a car cover on it. And then Miss Kim did not own a car cover. And you could tell by the condition of the paint on her car. And then the taxi cab driver also testified to the fact that he didn't believe that he was the one responsible for slamming Mr. Wilson's hand in the car door, but it did happen. He made an incident report. He felt that Mr. Wilson was probably culpable for slamming his own hand in the door. I don't know. Either way, it did get slammed, and there is medical records that support that Mr. Wilson was in the hospital for at least, I want to say, 6 or so hours in San Francisco, being addressed to the broken fingers and the torn nail off of his pinky, all which occurred at the Caltrans station in San Francisco. So I'm just now stating we have a motive. I kept saying, I don't know why this officer would do this. I wanted to lean towards other, illegal business like money laundering and drug trafficking and him protecting, those that were doing it. But now it appears he was just on the take for himself. And that was a lot of money, like you said, back in the day. That would probably be enough to steer one bad cop into.
Okay. One last question before we move on. Where was the backpack?
Well, Wilson was at home, so it would have been in his bedroom.
Okay.
Wilson was at home when he found Miss Kim. So
that's totally illegal search then, because
yes,
his room is not where the crime scene was.
Correct.
His room is separate.
Correct. And
it's personal property within a separate room. It's not part of a crime scene. Totally
correct.
Illegal search.
Correct. And that's his complaint at this point in time. So basically, it even states when he was taken to the police department to get his blood drawn, the rape kit, the gunshot residue done, his clothing was collected. When everything was taken from him down at the police station, he had asked for his phone book so that he could make phone calls to attorneys and other people he knew. And he was denied access to that phone book because it was inside the backpack. And they said that was evidence at this point in time that was in the evidence room, and that unless he gave them permission to search that backpack, he could not have that phone book. And he said, nope, I will figure it out on my own. You are not to search my backpack. And probably because he had that $400,000 in there. I'm guessing that that's why he wouldn't allow them to search, because otherwise you could, it's no different than getting pulled over for a DUI check. You have an opportunity to blow and clear yourself, right? If there was nothing in that backpack that you didn't want somebody to see, you would have said, search my backpack. There's nothing in there that's going to, cause me to be culpable for this crime. So I think that now we have our MO, and that makes it a little bit more solid, because we were just a little sketchy on that the whole time I was doing the wrongful conviction podcast. So here we go. December 8th of 1986, we are finally at the end of 1986. We have 29-year-old Rita Mae Hughes in Houston, Texas, at a bus station. She went missing. She's a white female, 5'5", 115 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. Last known address was in Magnolia, Texas. Her husband drove her to the bus station, but the relatives said she never made it. Now, Houston is kind of that greater area where we know Flova was living around at this particular point in time. And it is not beyond Jack, but we do see pictures back that indicate that they were in other places. Well, it doesn't indicate Jack was. This is Nora's handwriting that I'm looking at, because December of 1986, it says Christmas in California is at Mary's in Stockton. And we see, you know, the kids and Mary. God, what a gorgeous girl she is. Anyways, and they also had pictures, which I did not find just as of yet. The first pictures we'd seen of Denny, I had written in here in the presentation. I went back to search for him, but it is with Denny, his wife Sharon, and the kids at Jack's house on Kirby during Christmas. So it does put at least Nora and the family in Sacramento area for Christmas and Stockton area for Christmas, but I did not see Jack in any of the photographs. So I really don't know where he is at this point in time. All right. Come over here. And how did I come up to Chiapella already? Oh, man. All right. So I had some information on this. I thought this was coming up next week. I had actually removed this particular murder from the podcast, from the possible Zodiac stuff. But then I got new information, which I have not entered at this point. And it's on January of 1987, William and Catherine Chiapella in Chico, California. They were found bound, gagged, and stabbed multiple times and bludgeoned on the head with a fire extinguisher. Article says reminiscent to the Manson murders. It's a well-to-do, prominent members of the community. It's a home break-in. Suspect wrote on 2 bathroom mirrors and lipstick just the beginning. And so that's why I initially put this in here, because we saw the Pennsylvania murder of one of the Manson family members where he wrote Jack and Jill goes down the hill in lipstick, I believe, on the mirror in one of the bathrooms of the hotel room where the Manson family member was found murdered. We also saw the writings on the wall in the Ketty murder area. Stephen Crittenden was sentenced to death for the crime. And so this was future. So I literally had the murders in here thinking it's a possible Zodiac. And then I found out Stephen Crittenden was sentenced to death for crime. The evidence or an eyewitness putting him in the area, footprints in the home. However, he was hired by the Chiapellos to do part-time yard work, even though he never actually did any work. And it is likely he was in their home. There was blood on the shoes found in his apartment, but it does not state if the blood was a match to either of the victims. Sheets were used to bound the victims were in the same strawberry pattern as some found in his home. So a similar pattern. They are not saying that they're identical sheets, but I mean, if a strawberry pattern is like out for the mass public, especially at the lower income levels, it's likely it's available to a lot of people. Crittenden was a football player for Chico State, and this is where I wonder how and why he would jeopardize any possible career he might have at this point. The writings on the mirror take a special six someone, as I put in it, and in lipstick saying it's just the beginning. So it says Crittenden has been granted a new trial, and I wanted to research that, and I did. I found an article on, let's see if I can tell the date of this. 2013, and pretty much it says the news that a federal judge has ordered a new trial for former Chico State student convicted in 1989 of the murders of a prominent Chico physician and his wife has stirred up memories of one of the most gruesome and racially charged cases in the city's modern history. In January 1987, Dr. William and Catherine Chiapella, who were then 68 and 67 years old respectively, were found in their Downing Avenue home by their son, Joseph, also a physician. Both had been bound, gagged, and stabbed multiple times and bludgeoned about the head with a fire extinguisher. There was evidence they had been tortured before being killed. And in the manner reminiscent of the Manson killings, the assailant had written a message in lipstick in 2 bathroom mirrors, just the beginning, it read. So basically, they've stated that a federal district court judge has ordered a retrial in the case, basically stating that while there were some coincidences, it was not enough to have convicted him of these crimes. So there was supposed to be a retrial. Looks like I need to continue to follow up and find more information on that if I can, to see that if he has been, what's the word?
Conspiracy. Is that
No. Basically got off.
Acquitted.
Okay.
Acquitted, to see if he was actually acquitted in the subsequent trial. So
a conspiracy to get him there and a conspiracy to acquit him. Okay.
Well, and I may have to put this right back in because we know that the Chico area is very close to the Ketty Cabin stuff, very close to Eureka, Mr. Adams. There's a lot of things that was happening in that area that has been associated with the Zodiac case. January 24th of 1987, Eric Coy and Martinez was nine years old. I believe that he had gone missing. I don't know that there was a body found. I have not found a lot of information on him either. And it did indicate that there was somebody from Martinez on the murder map from Sandy Betts. May 21st of 1987, 21-year-old Alexander Legro Balacastle in Woodbranch, New Caney, Texas. So we're still seeing murders that are going on in this area. It's Conroe, New Caney, Magnolia, all of these areas, I-45, Galveston, that's kind of relatively close to the Houston area. Found in a drainage ditch in an undeveloped section of Woodbranch off Highway 59 near New Caney, Texas. Bound, stabbed, shot, and burned. Now, that's why I entered this one into the presentation, because we know that by fire, by gun, by knife, by rope was pretty much the Zodiac's MO. And here we're seeing all four of those MOs in this particular murder. Now we have a picture over here to the right of Jack and his, what's that?
Oh, my bad.
Are you thinking out loud?
Yes.
Jack in his security uniform in 1987. The I-45 killings that took place in the 80s reported a man in a cop or a security-like uniform spotted where girls had gone missing. So I wanted to throw that up there to show you how official Jack actually might have looked in his uniform, and that he could have been taken as a police officer or, as they indicated, a security-like uniform.
This is really creepy because that's very much the type of uniform stuff that I saw in 1995, laid up what I saw. Anyways, so that's the kind of uniform material that was on, that we talked about it. I think it was last show, but I'm looking
it almost
at
looks
that.
like he's even wearing a badge on his hip.
Yeah,
I see something that's kind of gold that is reminiscent and may very well be badge-like.
So,
I don't think they give security guards badges these days, do they? It's too close.
Where was this particular job at?
He was working for, well, this house actually looks like something from Flova's house. This is the way it appears to me is more something of Flova's house than it is of Jack and Nora's house. The inside pictures of Jack and Nora's house did not appear to be the same, but it feels reminiscent of something of his mom's house. And I want to say he was a security guard for Hewlett Packard starting. It says 1983, though we don't really see him actively writing any reports or doing anything until 1984, 1985. I want to say it was 1984, in which case he stated for probation that he was a contract security guard for Pinkerton at Hewlett Packard. And then
that looks, yeah, that can actually look like a Pinkerton type, because they would have a little badge, this Pinkerton.
So it's more professional, obviously, than some of
yes.
All right. So on June 7th of 1987, we have 14-year-old Erica Ann Garcia. She's at a teen club in Houston. She's found behind a vacant building. Again, this is a running MO in these cases with remote or vacant buildings, lots. She's strangled to death. On July 13th of 1987, Eddie and Joanne McMillan in Kingwood neighborhood, Texas. He's a Conoco executive, so right back into gas and oil, and she's a real estate agent. The house is situated on a lake. They are bludgeoned to death in their bed, entering into the homes like we saw in several of the accounted for murder scenes. It's ransacked. The house is ransacked, but nothing was taken of value. So that ruled out the MO of robbery. And it's called the ransack murder back in California. So robberies, very rare in this killer's MO. We haven't seen a lot. I know that Dennis believed that Jack the Zodiac did actively take some jewelry from victims and have it melted down in order to make some money off of it, claiming that he had found gold while he was up in Nevada. But we very rarely see anything that is taken from any of these victims of the Zodiac cases where it appears to be a robbery or as if they're trying to deter you from thinking that it's a random kill for any other reason other than robbery. There was 2 phone calls to the police to let them know that the McMillans were dead, and one of the calls came from the residence itself. Now, this definitely sounds like a Zodiac MO. As with many of these cases, we did have phone calls from the suspect to the police, media, or family. August 7th of 1987, Jack and Nora Mary Chacon remarry in Washoe, Nevada. So now we see them actually remarrying. I half wonder if they didn't get a divorce simply because if they divorced and put everything in Mary's name while Jack was in probation or in jail for his little act of aggression with the assault with a deadly weapon, couldn't have caused him to suffer punitive damages or, I don't know where the punitive damages would have been paid right back to him if he was literally still with Nora because the assault was committed on the family. October of 1987, David Knobling and Robert Edward at Colonial Parkway, Virginia. Now, this one's a little bit out of the way, but they were found shot nearby in a wildlife refuge. Theorized that the suspect posed as an officer in order to get them to pull over. Again, that's why I put it in here, because we see Jack looking like that stereotypical officer in his security guard uniform. Now, the next communication that we're going to actually pick up on, I found at zodiacciphers.com. Harriette and I have been having some conversations in regards to this. Now, I thought it was a former FBI agent that posed this particular website. Do you believe he's a current FBI agent?
He's reportedly the cipher solver or cryptography department for the FBI now, which so he's associated according to his latest bio.
Would they allow him to run a website if he was a current agent on evidence and information in an unsolved case?
Well, apparently.
Nolan, do you think that that's possible?
What, an unsolved case?
If he's an active agent, I mean, typically speaking, Dennis and I would get, minimal amount of information out of Chris Hopkins and Hittmeyer, but we wouldn't necessarily be given opportunities to see evidence that's in the file. So would this FBI agent be allowed to run a mainstream website on the unsolved murders with evidence never before seen by the public if it's an open
FBI
case? FBI, it would have to be FBI evidence.
Generally speaking, no.
Hold on, Harriette. Go ahead.
He would have to get special permission, but the general policy is no, they don't give out information.
And typically they don't even right? And typically they don't even appear in the media or on documentaries or anything until after they've retired.
He's been in the media as the guy who solved the 340, and it says his bio is that he's working, that he's the cryptographer that for the FBI, blah blah blah.
What does he have to say though? What's this letter say?
This is a new letter we had not seen before, but it's I've seen before. We've talked about in the past. Mm-hmm. It was put forth as though it was a forgery or that somebody else wrote it, mm-hmm. even though I have substantiated that it is in fact written by the Zodiac Killer. So basically, it says October 28th, 1987.
I know the letter. That's the Zodiac letter. Yeah, on the left, though. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, we're going to see the actual visual part of it, but this is just the typewritten version of it. And it says the October 28th, 1987 letter is questionable as to whether it was authored by the Zodiac Killer, but did anything occur on Halloween night, 1987, that would substantiate anything the author alludes to in the letter? On October 31st, 1987, 3 days after the mailing of this correspondence, Shannon Olson, 15, disappeared from Southeast Wichita area after she had decided to venture out with friends on All Hallows Eve. Within hours, she was found floating in a pond by two fishermen in an industrial area by the now I-35 and K-96 in North Wichita. Shannon Olson had been repeatedly stabbed over 40 times, discovered with her hands bound behind her back by her own bra. It was presumed that her body had been dumped there, having been abducted from a secondary location. The letter and the murder were within days of each other, with the crime occurring on Halloween night. The killer could have used his car to temporarily disable the young girl before whisking her away to the area of her murder, which may have been the malicious intent of the perpetrator of the Tamalpais Valley attack on Isabel Watson. Shannon Olson, in the eyes of somebody like the Zodiac Killer, would have been viewed as a kid, as she was only 15 years old. She was bound and brutally stabbed in what can only be described as a frenzied attack consisting of over 40 knife wounds. There are loose similarities to the attacks at Lake Berryessa, the Hood, Garcia murders, and the Dominguez Edwards slayings, all discovered near water. October 31st, 1987 was also a Saturday, in alignment with the Zodiac's four confirmed attacks at Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs Park, Lake Berryessa, and Presidio Heights, which all took place on Friday or Saturday. So basically, he's got the typewritten version over here. Dear editor, this is now, okay. I hate it when people type things unlike the actual letter, because I think that it is very important that the letter be read at verbatim, because it tells us more the mindset, the linguistics, and what we're matching up to the Zodiac. So I'm just going to kind of fast forward. We'll read the letter once I get to the actual letter. So, Halloween 1987 murder, San Rafael, California. Authorities said Tuesday that an attack on a legal secretary 12 days ago in Tamalpais Valley might have been the work of the Zodiac Killer. I think it's a good chance it was him, Napa County Sheriff's Captain Ken Narlow said. Miss Isabel Watson, 33, was walking on Pine Hill Road near her home on April 7th when she was knocked to the ground by a car. So this is fitting with the letter. She said the driver got out, told her he was sorry, and offered to drive her home. She said she refused, and he became angry. Sounds like the Zodiac, or at least another one of those cases. The assailant stabbed her, and she screamed. The man fled, and Miss Watson was taken to Marin General Hospital for treatment. Narlow said, I've been chasing the SOB for 2.5 years now, and Miss Watson's description seems to fit him to a T. The Zodiac Killer has claimed in cryptic notes to police and newspapers that he has taken 17 lives. Now, I love that we're in 1987 on this letter, and this man is reporting the fact that 17. We've seen a letter that reported 100 in 1986, shortly before these communications. But he has not been heard from for about a year.
But Nardo's also in Napa, with this murder appeared in Marin County. So I don't know why they're not interviewing a Marin law enforcement officer.
Right. Or somebody from San Francisco, since they took over the case, long since took over the case.
Can I say just something really quick? Yeah, because this site notoriously does things like this. It looks like that's two different parts of some article, and there's no mention. It just says UPI. So there's a lot of questions there. You know, is this? What's the date? What newspaper? Blah blah blah.
You're right.
Maybe you're saying that maybe it was cut and paste together. That type of deal.
Right.
It looks
I'm
like
going to show you. Yeah, I'm going to show you where it is right here, and she's absolutely correct. It starts. The Zodiac Killer has claimed in cryptic. Now, this particular line itself is obviously not lined up and does not have the same distance between it and the other portions of that paragraph. We can also see that the Y and the P are cut up. The lower extenders of the cryptic Y and P are missing, which means that somebody did in fact cut that. And it is also slanted in an angle that is not consistent with the rest of the article. So you're absolutely right. There is, but we know that they've been, turning and doing what they want with this evidence to portray it the way they want to the public. And no different here. We are seeing these types of differences that we should not have seen. This would have lined up had this been an actual single print of an article. So the Zodiac Killer has claimed in cryptic notes to police and newspapers that he has taken 17 lives, but he has not been heard from for about a year. Law enforcement agencies said he has only been linked definitely to 6 San Francisco Bay Area killings. Now, I want to know what those are. Where are the 6? Where are the 6, guys? Because right now, as it stands, they have Major America believing that he killed 5 people and attempted to kill 7. So who's number 6 now? Unless they're including Sherry Jo Bates at this point, but this says in San Francisco Bay
Area.
The cop was killed in San Francisco, writing a ticket.
Yes, there was. Well, I don't know that he was in San Francisco. I know he was in the Bay Area, but this is alluding
the cop
to
was in San Francisco.
And those of us who know this region, Napa is not in the Bay Area. It is in the North Bay Area. So we have a lot of things going on here
that are inconsistent. Correctly.
Yeah.
Well, this says 6 San Francisco Bay Area killings.
That would be the locality. So
I think they're including Vallejo and Berryessa in that, even though Berryessa isn't in the San Francisco Bay Area either. But
you had to include the Vallejo, the Lake Herman Road. You have to include Napa, the Lake Berryessa,
Black Rock Springs, and that's all could be considered Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. Could be. All right. So the Zodiac Killer or a copycat says mailed a letter to the Vallejo Times-Herald on Wednesday, October 28th, 1987, claiming he would be driving around on Halloween night in his death machine looking for some kitties to run over and that cars make nice weapons. He also made reference to the movie The Car, directed by Elliot Silverstein and released in 1977, about a satanic driverless car that embarks on a series of hit-and-run deaths. And it says, here is a review of the... Sorry. Correct. The Zodiac modus operandi, if any, can really be established, involved attacks where he tended to seek out couples in cars, the only deviation being the Presidio Heights slaying of taxi cab driver Paul Stein in October 11th, 1969, yet still a vehicle was integral to the crime scene. Now, but they would have to have included Sherry Jo Bates, because here he is now saying just the 7 victims, which we know 2 survived. Sherry Jo Bates also had a vehicle involved in that particular MO as well.
That's far from the Bay Area, though.
It is far from the Bay Area. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand who they're claiming the 6 victims to be.
My best guess is the cop that was killed right around the same time in San Francisco. But nobody really attributed that to the Zodiac. It's just another unsolved murder.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That has no, I mean, while people have surmised that it could have been the Zodiac that did it, we don't have any definitive clues, and that is not their hard-pressed story that we've been fed all these years. It says, let's see here.
Well, what it was with him is that there were other murders going on, racial killings going around at that same time, and they were trying to blame it on some sort of racial motive.
Right. Well, and that we see that in several of the cases. Let's see. The only deviation being the Presidio Heights slaying of taxicab driver Paul Stein in October 11th, 1969, yet still a vehicle was integral to the crime. In searching for crimes based upon the threats outlined in the 1987 letter, where the author had used his car as a potential weapon, we shall examine the murder of a young girl in Wichita on October 31st, 1987. Is there a Wichita in California?
In Kansas.
I know, so I'm not really quite understanding. In Wichita on October 31st, 1987, but first we will take a look at a brutal attack on a lone woman in Marin County who had a terrifying encounter one dark night in 1972. Now it's saying 1972, like, dear Lord. Isabel Watson, 33, had just got off the bus on the evening of April 7th, 1972, and was walking home alone along Pine Hill Road, Tamalpais Valley, Marin County at 9 p.m. I don't know why we're visiting something in 1972 when the letter is written in 1987, claiming it's going to be a future crime that he commits. So I get all kinds of confused as to why they're mishmatching these kinds of things together.
Especially
so we already
rehash of the 19. Let's check it out. What's he say about this woman? Did she actually get killed?
We already read the article, so I'm not going to reread what he has to say. He's just repeating what's in this San Rafael, California, which now is it's not in Wichita. She's in what's it say? San Rafael,
Marin
California.
County. Yeah.
Marin County in Tamalpais. Yeah, and we know Tamalpais is one of the points on the murder map. But again, I believe that it's possible that Sandy Betts wrote that thing up and she would have included all of these unsolved murders as a potential attack. Yeah, so it's basically saying Marin County. So I don't understand why it's like it's purposely meant to confuse you, distract, cause issues. Again, her description of the man alerted investigators to a possible Zodiac connection, that of a man with a heavy rimmed black glasses in his early 40s, 5'9" in height and short brown hair. It was not overlooked by police. And I think that Gaikowski's much taller than 5'9". So interesting that Tom Voight has hung on to Gaikowski as long as he could. It was not overlooked by police that the killer had attempted to lure the woman into his vehicle, not dissimilar to the method employed in the Modesto abduction of Kathleen Johns. Napa County homicide detective Kenneth Narlow believed in a greater than 50-50 chance of a Zodiac connection, bearing in mind the description given by Isabel Watson, and that April 7th, 1972 once again fell on a Friday. Zodiac crimes of Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Berryessa, and Presidio Heights were on Friday, Saturday, and Saturday, respectively. And then there was a response by Sandy Betts. Did you know that there were 2 1987 letters sent? One to VTH, which is the Vallejo Times-Herald, and the other to the San Francisco Chronicle. I still believe that all 3 of the letters, the 86 and 87s, were from Zodiac. She's correct. I never did like the so-called experts' opinions. None were very good except Sherwood Morrill. The others would disagree with Morrill. They never could agree on many of the Z letters. Then when one would change his mind, the others would follow. What a joke. And I do appreciate that comment from her because she is absolutely correct. I do believe in Sherwood Morrill and his assertion that these letters were all written by the same person. Now she's talking about 2 1987 letters. We're about to see one. We already talked about the 1986 last year. So here is that 1987 letter. I had long been searching for where to place this chronologically in the PowerPoint presentation. It does not surprise me by any means that the other letter that was purportedly stated as to being a fraud or a fake that Toshi had committed, it was 1978. We just have a reverse of the years here, but we see the envelope is very similar to the actual letter itself. And this is what the letter says verbatim. Dear editor, the Zodiac speaking, I am crack proof. Tell Herb Cain that I am still here. I have always been here. Tell the Blue Pigs if want me, I will be out driving around on Halloween in my death machine looking for some kitties to run over. Cars make nice weapons. Them pigs can catch me if they can find me out there. Just like in the movie The Car. Tell the kitties, watch before they cross the streets on Halloween night. Tell Toshi my new plans. Yours truly is blank. Zodiac says guess. What was the Zodiac symbol? - guess. And VPD, which is Vallejo Police Department - 0. Now, this is the one that went to Vallejo Times-Herald, and the makeup of the envelope is pretty much identical to the 1978 letter that we have already discussed. One of the things I wanted to point out, which I don't know if you can tell me, Harriette, is that every time he wrote the word they, them, or tell, anything with a capital T, he wrote with a capital T, even though it should have been lowercase letters. Did that figure into your solve?
Yeah, I was seeing that. That's something to pick out as stenographic code. It's you pick that out and set that aside as a puzzle piece to work out an anagram.
Gotcha. So basically, some of the consistencies that we have between the 1987 and the 1978 letter is the double stamps. There's the double Liberty Bell on the 1978, and then we have the double, it looks like, of the people, by the people, for the people. 22-cent stamp. It looks like it's over the top of, it's a flag basically over. Go ahead.
I found this to be superimposed. That's those stamps, those 2 stamps are twice the width of your normal stamps. So
they look huge.
Yeah. So this is superimposed. This is, anyways, keep going, because once I started working on it, I said, we're going to have some interesting issues.
It does look kind of unreal that the stamps are clear as day, much larger than you would anticipate a stamp to be, and nowhere near as blurry as the actual writing on this particular envelope. So again brings back into question how this FBI agent had access to producing or putting forth this evidence that is in a case that remains unsolved, when the rest of the public would be told, sorry, we can't release anything to you. This is still an unsolved case that's being investigated.
Also, what's odd is there's no zip codes on either envelope.
Well, and that's a Zodiac thing to do.
Okay, all right.
Even though they initiated Zodiac codes, what was that, Harriette? When did Zodiac, the zip codes came along of 70s?
No, this started around 1968, 1969. And I always remember the main rule for Zodiac is always use zip code. So,
well, we have many letters by the Zodiac that did not have zip codes.
exactly. Then it means if it's without the zip code, then you add that in the code without zip code.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Another
stenographic
clue.
code.
Okay.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Well, and we saw one of the letters literally postmarked by the post office that said use zip code.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, Jack and Zodiac, if it's not the same person or the group of people that compose the Zodiac, they're smart enough to know that you're supposed to use zip code. So if it's not there, it was done intentionally.
Exactly. 100%. Now, this is kind of a cross comparison of the basic information being provided in these particular two communications from 1978 and 1987. Both of them refer to Herb Cain. Now, I want to point out that in both places, he's not given any proper recognition in his name, because both the times that Herb Cain is spelled, it's spelled with lowercase first letters instead of capitalized, giving him the recognition for who he was. So it's almost as if he's less than a person to have printed his entire name in all lowercase letters with no capitals. It also refers to Tashi in both of these letters. It also says yours truly in both of these letters. And it also says Zodiac Guess in both of these letters. So I do not see this as a coincidence that a repeat 9 years later and dates being very important, also almost strategically important to the Zodiac when it comes to these communications. They both talk about a movie, which again, not a coincidence, albeit the one in 1978 is talking about a movie about the Zodiac Killer himself and who's going to play him. And then the 1987 letter is actually referred to the movie The Car. And of course, I put the cover up there for
We have
The Car.
we done the 1978 letter also, where it's in, anyways, but it has the movie The Car in there. So
no, the 1978 letter does not have the movie in The Car.
yes, it does.
I'm looking at it right now on the screen.
That's it.
It does not say anything about the movie The Car.
We did it last year.
We were looking at both of these letters together last year. I did not know what the date was on this 1987 letter. So we were looking at them both together as if they were sent at the same time. And now recognizing that this one is purportedly sent October 1987, only the one on the left here refers to the movie The Car. The one on the right actually says, I am smarter and better. He will get tired, then leave me alone. I am waiting for a good movie about me. Who will play me? I am now in control of all things. So the 1978 letter does not refer to the movie The Car, even though it is 1 year after the making of the movie The Car. I do get what you're saying. There seems to be some type of a tie-in here, that this letter came out 1 year after the movie The Car, and then the 1987 letter is actually making reference to the 1977 movie The Car. But they're both talking.
In 87, he would refer back to Herb Cain and Tashi again, who were both referred to explicitly in the 78 letter. So correct. I guess he's just trying to tie back.
Tie it in. Yeah, tie back. So, and that's what I've seen a lot in these communications, is there's always a tie back. All right. So some of the other things that we found consistent. Oh my goodness, we completely ran out of time, you guys. I didn't even get my first warning sign. So we're down to basically the last minute, and I was going to go into the handwriting consistencies and some of the, we see the heavy markups where they canceled things out. We're going to have to get into this next week. I'm sorry, Harriette. I thought we were going to definitely make it to the solves. But I thank everybody for being here once again, especially Nolan and Harriette. You guys always bring great questions to the show. I'd like everybody to have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday on the solves. Go ahead, Nolan.
The letter in the middle, or the second letter,
Mm-hmm.
What year is that?
1986. That is the one that
That's
Terrence
86, and the one on the
Pascal.
left is 87. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And they're
Which is
very
similar
similar.
to the 78 letter.
Exactly. So I'm going to show how those all wrap each other up, and then we're going to climb right into some very exciting and informative solves that Harriette has made with these. They are absolutely mind-blowing, and a lot of times they drop my jaw because of the consistency that they do hold. So do you have anything left, Harriette?
I'm going to say we'll have a great weekend, and we'll de-snarl all of this next week.
All right, you guys.
Real quick, my brother's dance team is performing at the State Fair on Sunday.
My dentist that I went to Ireland with is performing at the State Fair in her band. She's a singer as well, so that's awesome. I'll catch up with you on that one. I'll have to look it up, but I did post it. I'll talk to you guys soon. I gotta go. All right, take care. Bye.